The National Institute of Standards and Technology plans to release a set of cybersecurity standards in October, as mandated by President Obama's executive order on cybersecurity. I asked security pros at the Black Hat Conference what they'd like to see in those guidelines when they're finished.
I'd like to see the NIST standards address some of the attack vectors that are more common that are outside of the IT security industry. So things about how publishers and ad networks participate in cybercrime, help agencies understand how their employees could be targeted by watering holes, and some of the things that just don't make it into the press as much as some of the other topics you hear this conference and other conferences.
The success of a lot of it's going to be based off of obviously their guidelines, but how mappable are they to the way that organizations are trying to effectively build their capabilities relative to this. Obviously, Obama, a lot of this was driven by mandates that were brought up there. NIST has been moving rather quickly with their framework. I think it's pretty straightforward. Know, detect, protect, respond, recover, all makes sense. So, we'll really see once the things come out. It is a guideline though, like a lot of these types of things. So I think a lot of it's going to be is how quickly organizations can look at it and operationalize against it.
If these NIST guidelines come to pass, how will a governing body gauge compliance?
Creating metrics. How do you effectively measure these controls? So simply having the control in place, even trying to live up to the adherence of those controls by putting in place the necessary programs is only one step. Measuring your effectiveness against the controls is what's critical, and putting in the metrics to measure those controls is a key element that is important. It's not easy. It's the reason why it doesn't exist today, but I think an effort and a move towards that will be important.
I think the most important thing around the NIST framework that's being developed is how practical it will be to actually implement it. And so NIST has taken some important steps along the way and really engaged with the private sector in putting together the framework. They're not quite finished yet, but indication so far is that they've engaged very well with the private sector and hopefully we'll be coming out with a framework that's implementable. And I think a lot of that has to do with how we're going to be able to measure success, how are we going to be able to put some critical performance indicators in place to make sure that what's laid out in that framework is actually something that can be implemented and is being implemented over time.
For more security news from the Black Hat Security Conference, check out the Black Hat web series on govtech.com.